Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have our friend joining us here again today, who owns Restoring Minds Wellness. Go to the website, restoringmindswellness.com. And really, we're going to talk today about some of the, health and wellness, Reiki therapy, the guided mindfulness, the meditation, and so much with all the holistic healing and therapy counseling services that she provides. So welcome back to the show today, Jacqueline Campbell. How are you?
Good, Jill. Thanks. What about you?
I'm doing great. It's a little bit of a cold, rainy day here. How is you're in Texas, right?
I am, yes. And every time you've asked, it's been like really nice spring weather, and it is very cloudy and
Oh,
rainy too. So we're equal today.
all right. Good, 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 good. Just sets the mood sometimes. But outside your window
Yeah.
it looked kind of bright. So I was like, hmm.
Yeah.
Well, nice to have you back
We
here.
get some
And
light.
for the new timers, would you mind just sharing a little bit about the work you do?
Yes, ma'am, of course. So I've spent more than a decade in the mental health field, specializing in PTSD. And what had me move is I built a clinic, and I learned very, very quickly, you have personal issues that we need to work on, and we need to grow into the person that we want to be and reach our highest potential. But even through professional growth, we still have a lot of personal barriers that we need to work through to be able to reach that, those levels of success. And so a lot of mine were trauma. And so I started working more with leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, and working on their past trauma. But it's not just, physical, sexual, violent trauma. It's the emotional hurts too, because really, according to our nervous system, they're held the same way.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, I've gotten to know you over the past few weeks with chatting here as well. And you really help those dealing with a lot of stress, right? And speaking of stress, you've had your own share of stress. I also have to point out that you spend time the U.S. Marine Corps as well. So I have to commend you for that and thank you for your service. And I know what you've done was amazing, but also wasn't easy for you. So. I'm glad you're here and just wanted to let everyone know as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that's one of the hard parts too about transitioning from military to civilian is when you're so young and you're put into leadership roles and you have no idea what you're doing. And so in the military, and I'm not the only one, a lot of us talk about it, how you get, good leadership and then bad leadership. So you get to see both sides. And then when you
Hmm.
come out to the civilian sector, people automatically look to you as if you're supposed to be a leader. And so there's a lot of, responsibility immediately put on you. And so a lot of military people naturally gravitate toward the leadership roles because that's what we were, developed to be in anyways. And we do kind of have to just figure it out. And so there's plenty of coaches. I know I've had an executive coach myself. She's my business coach as well. Lots of training and help. So it's not just traumas that hold us back. It's the amount of burden that we and society puts on ourselves too. But definitely resources out there to work past it.
Well, thank you for being here. And what area of focus did you want to talk about and dive into today for your listeners?
Well, it's actually focus.
Ah, let's see,
So
I got
perfect.
it. We're on the
Yeah,
same
you know,
page.
we've been kind of talking about how, there's a lot of stress in the body and it leads to illness and then distraction. And the last show that we did, we were specifically discussing being on autopilot. And so I was thinking that might be a good place for us to go today is, in transition from what we talked about last time to this time, like our brain gets trained on the things that we
Oh,
focus on.
yeah. Hmm.
So when you were a kid, I don't even know, like we were about the same age, I think.
I'm
Were you
46. You
taught?
look younger than me. How old are you? Tell me
I'm
now.
37. Oh
Yeah,
my.
so you're a youngin'.
Or
You're almost 10
you
years on
actually
you.
look really young, so that's what that is.
Well, thank you for being so kind. So go ahead, you can ask any questions.
Yeah, when you were a kid, did they, like discuss how important and how much of a great skill multitasking was?
No, I don't think they
No,
did. I know.
me.
I don't remember. All I remember is like, and I'm a little older, but like, I remember in high school, people, the whole term, the ADHD started popping up and people were
Mhm.
doing too much and not focused enough. And you got to focus on one thing. And I felt like I was a multitasker, and
Right.
but no one in my family ever kind of instilled that in me where it was a good thing to be all over the place. No, no.
Right. Well, maybe that's a difference in generation. I don't know if it
Okay.
is maybe, demographically, but also,
Okay.
our families play a huge role in that. And then what we decide to do, and, me going into the military. And so that was another thing. So being able to go, 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 act quickly, do multiple things, and just get stuff done
Yeah.
was the expectation. And so not
Got it.
only was I taught that, but moving into the military, it was also expected. So it really got embedded in my brain. And so when we're talking about different brain waves, the more we do, the more multitasking we do, and the more tasks throughout the day in terms of like you're doing this, then you transition, you go to another thing, and you transition, go to another thing, and you're constantly go, go, go until you just sit down at the end of the evening. Well, your brain is being trained to be very, very active. So
Yeah.
whenever we're in relaxation, I train a lot of my clients to do meditation and mindfulness. And what this does is it retrains their brain. It's literally deconstructing the way that it expects that it should run.
Ooh.
Because alpha brainwave, it's completely different than when we're, very active, but it starts to calm you down, and then your system itself starts to regulate your blood pressure, your melatonin and serotonin. Those are all different hormones that start to calm you down. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are in that resting space before you go to bed at night, because you've decompressed and your brain is already used to being an alpha brainwave, which is the relaxed state,
Mm-hmm.
and it can go into the deeper states like theta and delta. And so when we cannot get into those brain waves, it's because it didn't pass through alpha first.
Okay.
And so if we're go, go, go constantly, and then we just hit the bed at the end of the day and we pass out because we're exhausted, our brain isn't getting into those deeper areas, and it's just not going to be able to. Our body needs to decompress the stress. Our brain waves are too high. They're used to being too high, so they can't get that low. So when you wake up the next morning, you're still exhausted.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Didn't get adequate rest.
Interesting. Yeah, I grew up in a, just by the way, a different household. My parents were very traumatic. They didn't get along. They fought all the time. So there was really no guidance in my life. Like no one ever told me how to go to college. No one ever. They were so involved in their funk and disaster that none of my siblings, like we didn't have any direction. So it's definitely I don't even think it's a generational thing. I think it's just the way I grew up. My parents never instilled anything in me. I did it by myself, to be honest. So just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up. But go ahead.
No, actually, I'm glad this this actually might be a good opportunity for us to discuss. Like that's how our brain gets trained. If you are training, or if you are put in a position of having no choice but to just handle things on your own,
Yeah.
your brain gets formatted that way. So that's how it sees yourself, and then that's how it sees the world. And so, like a lot of times when I do have, sometimes it is female leaders who they get put in a position of all of a sudden being able to relax. They can delegate, they can, hire an assistant, or they get into an intimate relationship and they just can kind of let
Mm-hmm.
go of having to be the one in charge, who's the one that's capable. That is extremely difficult for a lot of them because their
Yeah.
brain's literally not trained that way to just relax and let other people help.
Very true. That's me. That's me. You describe me to the T. So good or bad, I do it all. I control it all. I did, but I have my own problems, so it's okay. All right, go ahead.
Right? We all do. Definitely. And like we were talking about earlier, the ability to focus and not go, 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 or go, 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 like all the time, especially, as a single mother, or we have people who are running their own business or an executive, and they have, I've had a lot of my clients who their families were, struggling with illness, or they had people who were in other countries that they were sending money to. And so we have these other life obligations that are making us work so much. When I talk to those individuals, I just tell them, okay, well, if you have to work up here all the time, then all you have to do is do the self-care at the same level. Like that's it. So you have to do more and it's higher stress, do more self-care, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But that's where it comes to, like, we have to be able to put ourselves first, which is also another retraining of the brain.
All right, and how do we do that?
Well, the first thing, and we actually talked about this last time, is meditation, and I'm sorry, mindfulness. You can work up to meditation to being able to retrain your brain waves, but sometimes we have to start with just mindfulness, because if we don't know that our body's stressed and that our brain is distracted, then how are we going to know that we need to do any more self-care?
Got
You know?
it.
So once people start really actively practicing mindfulness, And you can look up all kinds of techniques. There's different guided mindfulness exercises that uses all your different senses to really focus on you. Then that starts to change the way that the brain is operating, which then changes the brain waves. It gets it used to paying attention to itself. And then all of a sudden, when you're go, 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 but you've been paying more attention to yourself, you start realizing, oh, I have this pressure in my chest. I've had it for about an hour. That's us being able to finally connect to our body, that there's physical stress in your body. You need to decompress that. So then that starts building, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do to get rid of pressure in my chest? You start looking at those things, breathing meditations, yoga. Cardiovascular exercises are great because they really do start to regulate your breath. And if you do those exercises while you're at the gym, jogging, however you do it, but you're really focusing on your breath, you're physically exerting the toxic energy that does get stuck in those places of your body.
All right. How do we get it unstuck?
Well, mindfulness is the first step. The second thing is really paying attention and then taking action when you start to notice it. Doing things like yoga, a massage is really good. Saunas are really good. And a lot of my leaders, they really like to do the hard working out. And I tell them, you got to balance it. Do the soft, slower stretches, do yoga, Tai Chi, things like that, balanced with the harder workouts. And then, of course, you can always go to therapy. You can look into meditations. And what I tell people is when they are really trying to build the strong connection between their mind body, the goal is to get to doing meditations when you're not doing anything. And I know that sounds silly. It's like, well, meditation is doing nothing, right? No, there's actually a whole spectrum of different types of meditation. The goal is to get to the nothing space. This is what I call it. But we have to start with being mindful. So you practice mindfulness exercises, then you can graduate. And there's all kinds of different YouTube videos on this. You can go to visual meditations where it's showing you different things and you're practicing using those areas of your brain using visualizations. And then you do breath work, and that's detoxing the stress from the body. The goal is to eventually, because these are harder for the body to do because it starts to bring up things and it starts to reorganize the brain to be prepared to sit in the space of doing nothing. And so when you finally worked up and your brain is ready to sit in the space of nothingness, then whenever you sit in meditation, then you just check out. And what happens is all of this leading up to it is a form of meditation, but it's not actually meditation. Meditation is when you're sitting there, you're not doing anything, and your brain, it starts to shut off. And so you're conscious and you're awake. And if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, Jill," you can turn around and go, "Oh, I'm meditating." But you're not there. You're not conscious. And there's a lot of activity going on. Kind of, have you ever woken up from your sleep and you weren't aware of what happened, but there was so much activity?
Yeah, a lot of times. A lot of times.
Yeah. A lot of activity happens. We're just not conscious of it. So that's the space that we're trying to get. And there are so many research studies on different kinds of, Tibetan monks or yogis that really do meditate for, for hours a day. And what it does is it strengthens different parts of your brain, the emotional, the relational connections, the areas that have to do with focus, intuition, and empathy.
Okay.
They're all areas that we don't have full access to because our brain hasn't been trained to get access to.
Interesting.
So we realize that those are natural, innate parts of our brain. They're just closed. What we have to do is become mindful that we're go, go, go all the time, increase the self-awareness, increase the stress reduction techniques and the self-care. And eventually, hopefully, we can get into a meditative state where we are we are capable of getting into a place where we are so still, our brain naturally switches over into a different brainwave to be able to be relaxed while we're awake, not when we're all asleep.
Ooh. All right. Thank you for that. I just got to remind everyone how we can contact you because we're halfway through. Do you mind sharing?
Yes, that goes
a little
so
more
fast.
than that. Yes, I know. I know.
So my email is jcampbell@restoringmindswellness.com, and the phone number is 214-235-9087.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's continue.
Of course. Something else I was thinking too, how many kids do you have?
Two boys, 7 and 9.
Yeah. So my boys they just turned 14 and 11.
Okay.
You know, when we're go, 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 especially as single mothers, I don't know if there's any other single moms listening out there. It's so hard to just stop with the go, 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 turn around and pay attention, right?
Yep,
And when you do, the kids all of a sudden they listen better.
they do. Right?
It's the eye contact, I know. What's happening
Mm-hmm.
is our nervous systems are, so I don't even know if you can see my hands, but when our nervous
Yeah.
systems are like this, they can't actually pay attention. So if you
Oh,
are paying attention to somebody, your energy is projected towards them because all your nonverbals, this is all subconscious, because their subconscious is also paying attention this way, even if their conscious thought is not. And so when we're dealing with focus, if I'm over here and they're over here, they're not going to be able to effectively listen to us and focus and pay attention because we're not connecting to them. It takes
no.
contact and intention. Then our all of our nonverbals are all pointed towards that person. Then their subconscious is naturally going to want to gravitate to us. It's
Hmm.
with intention we can open up our nervous system for connection. But like, if you, I don't know, go into a grocery store and you check out, or you walk by a receptionist and you say hi, but you don't really look at them. A lot of these go, go, go situations where we're just kind of taking off and we're going to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. We don't
Mm-hmm.
sit in stillness and really focus on who we're talking to. We get used to being like this, which is disconnection. So the brain is disconnected. So it actually can't focus.
Okay.
Look, if you ever told your kids, my kids use this on me all the time, less now than it used to be, because I know that this is what's happening because I started focusing way better. But when our brains are closed, when we're disconnected, because our nervous systems are closed. So when you turn and you face them and you ask, okay, well, hold on, go ahead and put that down. Usually it's our phones or a video game, right?
Of
And
course.
can you face me? Make eye contact, right? Really quick. I got to tell you something. And they turn. Now their brain's open.
Yeah.
We can't pay attention when we're like this. And so, have you ever told your kids something and like it was quick, easy? They even said yes. And then later on, come to find out, they're like, that never happened
Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? Yes.
all the time. And this happens with spouses too. And it happens at work a lot because it's like, no, I told you to get that report done by, April 17th or whatever. And they're like, you never said that. Yeah, I did. I put it in the email. Sometimes you go
Yeah.
back to the email and it was never there.
Isn't
Well,
that
we're
funny?
not paying attention, so our brain's not open. So we actually think that we do things that we don't. Or we could have put it in the email and the person who received the message, whether you're, expressing verbally or it's written communication, it doesn't matter. If the brain's closed because you're not connected, it's not integrating the information. So it really can't absorb what you're trying to say.
Got it. Ooh. Ooh.
I
Got
know.
me
I
thinking
wonder,
like
I wonder what everybody's thinking. Like, oh my God,
I
I do all that.
did it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, what else did you have in mind for our last, oh my gosh, 7 minutes? Yeah,
It
7. I
does
can't see
go
well.
so fast.
No.
I guess I can kind of tell a couple little stories about specific situations that definitely reflect. So I do have a friend, I guess not really a story, but like a tip, if anybody
Okay.
wants to use this strategy, because it's made a world of difference.
Okay.
And I do something very similar with it too. But he's a public speaker, great guy, very busy. He's a serial entrepreneur. And if he hears this video when I post it up on my TikTok, he's gonna be like, oh, she's talking about me.
Me. Oh, okay. Okay. So anonymous, but go ahead.
He was talking, it was during one of his public speaking events, and he's like, if you really want to focus on how much time you actually look at your phone. So when you have and that sounds counteractive, right? But this little thing, it takes up so much of our attention, and
It
a
does.
lot of the time we have it on us. And even if we don't have it on us, we have it next to us, but face up.
Yeah.
And so if you
Mm-hmm.
notice, if you have it on silent, if you have do not disturb, Apple has focus, or if you intentionally put it down, or if you turn it off, that's what I do. At 5 o'clock, I do my very best. I turn my phone off and I announce it to the kids. Don't turn my phone back on.
Wow.
So they go to the phone, right? Every once in a while, I'm like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Turn it right back off after you turn it back on because I'm not available right now.
I like
Well,
this.
he actually said if you have to have your phone on, then turn it down so that you don't see it, right?
Okay.
Because if you have it face down, you're not present for it, so you're not paying attention to it. And you need to know that you have your own boundaries on it because it is distracting you and it's taking you into so many different directions. So you can't pay attention to the person that you're actually talking to.
Ooh.
I know, right? So discipline with
So
the
tell
phone
me what happens. So
is
5 o'clock, this is what happens to your phone? Is it what you do?
normally when I'm interacting with anybody, my phone is face down, just like he recommended. But at 5 o'clock, I
Good.
turn my phone off and I don't turn it back on, and unless something happens, right? Or I check it before I set my alarm at right before bed, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
To have discipline, and it's actually not. I have another friend. He's an executive coach. And here in DFW, he actually does CEO groups. But he, on his voicemail, when you call him, he has his, you've reached so and so, leave your name and number, I'll get back to you. And just in case I don't call you back, it's because I have my phone off because I'm spending time with my family.
Ah,
And so he wants to respect his time enough with his family to be able to really connect and focus.
that is
Yeah,
a great thing because you know what? I got to practice what I preach too, because after work is like the homework and then my phone's ringing and then they see mom distracted. That's not cool. It's not good. I realize that I need to work on that.
Yeah. And we all do it, so it is normal. So it's good that a lot of people are talking about it nowadays.
Oh my goodness. All right. All right. But we don't want to make it too normal, but that's a good one. And what other tips or suggestions do you have? I got to get that. That's good for the kids because they're so all about everything online and the iPads, and the kids want to come home and use the iPads, and you have to set limits
Right.
and how it's affecting everyone. We don't even know.
Absolutely. Well, another rule that I, as well as a few colleagues of mine, we knowingly talk about it. I recommend it to my clients as well, as no phones at the table.
Yeah.
We have family time. Everybody puts their electronics
In a
away.
basket. My aunt did
Yes.
that at a holiday 2 years ago. She took she collected a bit of wicker basket. We thought it was like bread coming around. She's like, "This is for your phones," but it was a great idea.
No, I love it. I love it. And you know what? You know what? Another one too, and we can't get into it right now, maybe during another show, but mirror neurons inside our eyes, they're inside our brain and they come through our eyes, but it's
Cool.
ingesting whatever we're seeing. So whenever you really want to connect with somebody, you want your
Okay.
nervous system, which means a connection, to
Mhm.
open, really making eye contact with them. Or
Okay.
if they're texting, just wait, because
Okay.
a lot of us, we pick up our phone in the middle of a conversation. It's like, well, I'll wait for you to pay attention. Or like, I'm gonna put my phone down. Hold on 1 second. I say this to my 11-year-old all the time. I'm like, hold on, baby. I want to pay attention. So let me finish this, put it down, and then I have to turn, make eye contact. Now I'm ready.
Aw.
It's a huge difference.
Well, thanks for the tips and reminding me. I'm going to use that tonight. Last night was Family Connect night, they call it here. Sometimes they don't give out homework and we played games and all, but I'm going to physically family connect and disconnect from the phones.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I'll think about you and I'll think all of our listeners when I announce that my phone's off tonight at 5.
Now they know. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. How can we reach out to you?
So my email is jcampbell@restoringmindswellness.com. My phone number is 214-235-9087.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. Excited to have you. And thank you for another informative session.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you
Have a
next time.
great day. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned where the show's coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home.
that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.